When Walmart closes a store in America, it's local news. When Walmart closes multiple stores in Dongguan, China's manufacturing engine, it's a warning signal for the entire global economy. Official reports say GDP is growing, but the streets tell a different story. Ghost malls, empty buses, and a massive workforce vanishing back to the countryside. What is really happening in the Pearl River Delta? Join us on Fox Hunt China as we expose the truth behind the shutdown. Residents in Dongguan and Guangdong recently found out that their local Walmart posted a sign announcing the closure of the South City Honggu Road branch effective the 27th of this month. A local video creator noted that the store had been struggling with business lately, adding that even loyal regulars had been visiting less often. Simultaneously, another Walmart at the Dongguan East City Expo posted a closure notice stating it would shut down on the 30th. According to online reports, this store had been operating for roughly 22 years, making it one of the area's first Walmart locations. After the closures were announced, the news spread rapidly across Douyin and WeChat. Netizens commented on how major shopping malls closing down left no room for migrant workers to survive, noting that the workforce has basically moved out. These remarks reflect the worries residents have regarding industrial decline and population shifts. Walmart entered China in 1996, focusing primarily on first-tier cities. However, public data shows that recently, Walmart has been continuously adjusting its store structure, with closure announcements popping up frequently on social media. Back in 2023, Walmart closed several locations, including older ones in Beijing and Shanghai. Reports indicate that in 2024, the company is expected to shut down over 20 stores in China, mostly in second- and third-tier cities. The closure of the two Dongguan stores has stirred up memories. One netizen recalled how Hong Kong and Taiwanese businesses once invested in Dongguan's manufacturing to bring prosperity. Now, these shifts may become part of the history of Dongguan's rise and fall. Another netizen posted old photos lamenting the noticeable changes. Guangdong scholar Wu Sanzhong explained that the shift in population movement is linked to factory closures and migrant workers returning home. He added that residents are living in more difficult conditions. Retail changes in neighborhoods often reflect the city's vitality, and store closures are one such phenomenon. In the comments, a netizen said, "In the past, buses in Dongguan were packed from morning to night, but now each bus only has a few people." Another added, "Last year, I visited a few large malls. They were nicely renovated, but each mall had very few people. I also frequently see stores posting rental signs, something that used to be unheard of." Interestingly, Walmart's overall performance hasn't been poor. According to its Q3 report released in November 2025, net sales in China reached about $6.1 billion, a 21.8% increase from the previous year. So if performance is improving, why are they closing more stores? Experts believe that offline retail is struggling due to the double pressure from e-commerce and rising operating costs. Platforms like Taobao, JD, and Pinduoduo have reshaped consumer habits, making searching for the lowest price a default instinct. At the same time, instant retail with home delivery has completely replaced the in-store shopping process. Online products are cheaper and ordering is easier, making the advantages that physical stores once relied on almost obsolete. Moreover, the rise of live streaming e-commerce has further drained foot traffic. Live streaming's intense marketing allows consumers to make impulse buys right from their phones. The mature logistics system has reduced online retail costs, contrasting sharply with the high rents and labor costs of physical stores. Dongguan resident Yi Xiaochang told reporters that the big box store near his home has changed frequently, with business constantly fluctuating. There used to be many people, but now malls are becoming fewer and retail pressure is increasing. Other netizens commented that residents now shop more online, leaving local streets with vacant spaces. However, some industry experts believe that Sam's Club's expansion is the key driver of Walmart's rebound. In recent years, Sam's Club has become a phenomenal business model. Compared to traditional Walmart stores, Sam's Club has a clearer positioning, targeting middle and high-income groups to achieve higher per-customer spending. Data shows that Sam's Club sales per square meter far exceed those of regular big-box stores. For Walmart, continuing to focus resources on Sam's Club seems like a natural move. At the same time, Walmart China's e-commerce business has seen rapid growth, leveraging its partnership with platforms like JD and Meituan. For consumers, the convenience of 30-minute home delivery directly offsets the value of browsing in physical stores. This model reduces dependence on physical space, lowering fixed cost pressures. However, some scholars point out that the wave of store closures is closely related to Guangdong's business environment. In recent years, many cities in Guangdong have been rapidly expanding their commercial sectors, with shopping centers opening faster than population growth. Developers aiming to boost political achievements have built increasingly denser commercial spaces. However, consumer spending power hasn't expanded at the same pace. A large amount of commercial space has been left vacant while rents remain high. This has led to retail businesses being dragged down by costs, even when profitable on paper. Additionally, the siphoning effect between Guangdong cities has intensified. Guangzhou and Shenzhen have attracted high-quality consumption and talent, leaving cities like Dongguan and Foshan struggling. Middle and high-income people drive to Guangzhou for luxury goods or Sam's Club, while young people migrate north. What remains are local residents with declining consumption ability. Reports indicate that Walmart store closures are part of a broader trend among foreign retail giants. Yonghui Superstores recently announced the closure of its store in Chuzhou on December 30th. Since 2021, Yonghui has been closing underperforming stores. Many chain enterprises that expanded rapidly now face declining consumer spending and must cut losses. On December 16, Yonghui closed 2 stores in Shenzhen. Scholar Wu Songzhong pointed out that these closures are choices made under operational pressure. Even retail benchmarks like Pongdong Lai cannot fully resist the pressure. In 2024, Pongdong Lai closed several stores in Henan, citing layout optimization. Meanwhile, new retail models like Hema Fresh continue to expand, but have not changed the overall pressure facing traditional big box stores. In 2024, RT Mart closed more than 30 stores, and China Resources Vanguard also closed several locations in early 2025. The entire industry is shrinking. The closures point to one key fact: market demand is shrinking and consumer purchasing power is declining. According to a 2025 report, the closure rate of large retail stores reached 12%. Behind this is the slowdown in resident income growth. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, China's per capita disposable income grew by only 4.7% in 2024, far lower than the reported GDP growth rate. On a broader scale, this reflects a consumption downgrade. China's economy is shifting to an internal circulation model, but domestic demand remains weak. In the first half of 2025, retail sales grew by only 2.1%. Why? High household debt, expensive housing, and young people cutting back on consumption. Data shows that in 2024, China's household debt reached 62% of GDP. Walmart's traditional stores, once a haven for affordable goods, are withering in this environment. However, the deeper reason is hard to separate from policy factors. The government emphasizes common prosperity, but in practice, living conditions are neglected. Take the dual carbon goals as an example. Shutting down factories to meet quotas has directly led to job losses. Dongguan's manufacturing industry has already been impacted by trade friction and declining orders. As a result, factories are closing, urban consumption is decreasing, and foot traffic in malls is dropping. Official statements continue to stress stabilizing employment, yet employment positions are decreasing. Ordinary workers' lives are becoming more unstable. Looking at the real estate sector, Dongguan's housing prices once skyrocketed, but by 2024, residents' confidence had not recovered. People have become more cautious, consumption naturally cooled, and malls are facing inevitable vacancies. Another key factor is population movement. The number of migrant workers in Dongguan has decreased. In 2025, a report revealed the return rate of migrant workers reached 25%. Why? Because the cost of living in cities is high and factory wages are low. With an average monthly salary of about $707, they can farm or run small businesses back home. Walmart store closures are just a surface-level issue. Behind them lies the disappearance of the population dividend. Ironically, the government promotes an urbanization rate exceeding 65%, but in reality, it's hollowing out. The Pearl River Delta, once a symbol of China's speed, is now showing signs of fatigue. In 2024, Guangzhou's GDP growth rate was only 3.5%. Cities like Dongguan and Foshan have even lower growth, mostly moving along by inertia. 10 years ago, the Pearl River Delta was the engine of national growth. Now it's a declining area. The retreat of the manufacturing sector is particularly glaring. Between 2023 and 2025, many large companies adjusted their supply chains. A typical example is Huawei shifting some production to Southeast Asia. Peripheral suppliers have been forced to relocate or shrink. Dongguan, Huizhou, and Foshan have all seen records of factory closures. Even Shenzhen is not immune. The revenue of internet giants comes from virtual economies, which do not generate a large-scale driving effect on offline retail. Scholars point out that this is closely related to the long-term economic repercussions of the zero-COVID policy. Companies have become more cautious, and residents experienced a psychological shift towards saving. China's household savings rate rose to about 35%. This means many households chose to keep their money in the bank rather than spend it. This mentality is even more evident in cities relying on migrant workers. When workers leave, local consumption power limits retail survival. In other words, the Pearl River Delta is undergoing a double-layer contraction. The industrial chain is moving outward, and consumer confidence is dropping. While the city may still have its lights on, the actual flow of people, capital, and consumption is becoming increasingly sparse. Walmart, Yonghui, and RT Mart's consecutive store closures reflect the deep restructuring of Guangdong and the national economic structure.